So I have a model here I want to texture. Currently it's just all white. This is the UV map. I organized prior to this because that's for another video, UV mapping organization. And I'm going to, in this program, CS, it's just the base colors. So I'm going to choose my base colors. Preferably, I like to do a kind of light bluish look to it. Give a slight tinge of blue in that to give it that steel effect. Then you put it down. Hold down Shift to do this. Hold down Shift. Now we got our blade with the base colors. We do the pommel now. I'm gonna do a, I would say a gold perhaps. So that's in between yellow and red. So we're gonna find that, just like that, like a deep kind of golden color. Ooh, it's like brass. I like it. Do the same thing for the pommel here. This is a very simple model. We're not going to do anything fancy with it. Just like that. Hold down Shift. Now for the grip. Let's say maybe purple. By the way, you see I'm putting gray in here to make the color not as intense. Because if I left it up here, it would be neon purple, which doesn't look good. So you want to add a little bit of gray to make it more dull and natural looking. That is called desaturation of the color. So now we have our base colors in here, but there's still a problem. You can see that there's a little bit of flickering here. Now this is because this tip, right here, the blade tip, is a plane, and both sides of the tip are colored in. So you want to make one side transparent. So this side here. So erase it, just like that. But there's still a problem. Once you do that, you have the dark side and the light side still, which is terrible looking. So the way to fix that is to duplicate it, duplicate blade tip, take it off and putting it to the side, just like that. We are going to erase everything here inside this new plane, and we're going to copy. Well, first we're going to make our tip actually. It's a very simple tip. Just like that. I'm going to copy it by highlighting it. Control C and Control V in the opposite. Actually, no, you don't have. Well, just like that. And now we are going to take it, go a little bit like that. So it turns out that we should put it to the other side, which we can easily do. And boom, you got the normal color. Now it really depends on which face it's on. So this one's on the left, this one's on the right. There we go. So now we want to actually put the details now. So I'm going to put a fuller in. So I'm going to make it dark, kind of here. Do a lighter one to do pure whites. That's because with fullers, you have the dark side and a light side. This is where the light is hitting And this is where the light is not hitting at all. That, that. And then you're going to find the middle ground between this color and the white, so it's going to be around here. I'm going to do 2, hold down, just like that. Boom, you see that effect? And we can sort of just go into the middle here. Sort of like that kind of color. Maybe, nah. We're going to do the normal color of the blade. And you can see now that it really just gives that kind of 3D look to it. So, swords have bevels. Bevels are essentially the things that are angled on the blade. That's not a very good description, but you'll see what I mean. So we're going to make the beveled effect here. And it looks pretty simple here now, but once you get into the Krita, you can actually darken this side here. Actually, no, this side. And it will really pop. But also, in addition to that, you have a secondary bevel at the edge, which gives it its sharp look and really adds to the highlighting of the blade. So notice how I'm coloring the sides as well as the very edge of the blade. There we go. That is your blade. But there's still a problem. When it comes over to here, I'm going to copy this. You can see that it's a bit strange. The black side is on the right. Meanwhile, the black side is on the, well, right. That shouldn't be though. It should be on the right here and also be on the left here because the light is coming a certain way and it should hit the blade the same on both sides. So what we're going to do is we're going to select each one. We're going to select the face. So I believe it's right. Yeah. And we're going to click mirror horizontally. And we do that again. Mirror horizontally. And the tip, mirror horizontally. And that caused a problem. So I guess what we're going to do here is move it to the other face. And fixed. Huh. Oh yes, that's the problem. Okay. Essentially what happened is the actual texture was moved slightly. So you have to recorrect that. It happens. So now you got your base colors for the blade. We're going to do the cross guard, if you can call it that. We want a kind of 3D look to it. So we're going to create a kind of a crevice inside of it. Just like that. Make it all even on all sides. Now you're coloring all the details with color, no pitch black lines or anything like that. And we're going to make that a bit lighter, but still contrast with the rest. See that? Now, when it comes to the actual coloring in Krita, this will be made even more 3D. And I guess we're going to do a kind of maybe a gem, maybe a green one. Nah, blue, navy blue kind of thing. We're actually going to change it up a bit. Put that here. 90, rotate by 90, rotate by 270. The bottom is always rotated by 270. And we are going to erase this part and recolor it in the newly assigned areas. As you can see. And now we're actually going to make our little gem. Little diamonds. You can see I'm accounting for the 45-degree angle that this is on. Now this is got to account for the divots it causes in the actual gold. Because it's not just there, it'll cast a shadow around the direct area. So yeah, we don't really need to do any details of this. We're just going to sort of give it a texture. So now what we're going to do is we're going to copy, paste it into Krita as web, whatever that means. Going to highlight, image, trim to selection, deselect by holding Alt and sort of hovering over, highlighting it. Oop. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go to the contiguous selection tool, or magic wand. We're going to highlight all the whites, and this will also highlight all of the blade, or most of it anyway. So we want to deselect by holding Alt, going all the way down to here, all the way down, just like that. And hitting delete. Nope, hold on. This one needs to be deselected. You can always undo your changes by doing Control Z. Delete, 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 delete. Now this is deleted. I need to get rid of the background, unlock that, delete, and now we have this right here. So now you can easily use contiguous selection tool to select this entire thing, entire region, and do your work. So we're going to start with the blade. Select everything. Well, I would say sort of leave the folder alone for now. But for everything else, we're going to be texturing it. So what I like to do, I like to add a layer. Let me get my Wacom. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the brush tool. We're going to go here, going down to whatever this is called, texture big. Lower the brush size to this. And in our new layer, we're going to go black and just go over it and go 50 opacity, erase it, just to give it that nice look. See how aged it looks already? Now, we're going to give a slight blue tinge. Go to 10 opacity, approximately, and just color it in like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to deselect half of it and make this side lighter. Instead of just doing pitch white, you can go a little bit of blue to get that, retain the blue effect. It's a really trial and error thing. So let's see how that looks. Yep. See the effect? So now, going to reselect by sort of hiding this layer here, going to the base layer, reselecting, got everything in. Select a folder, just the folder. Now you can do this in whatever order you want to. This is just how I do it. Go dark. I'm gonna go back to a airbrush, which is all the way on the top. And we're gonna go smallish, and then just adjust your opacity accordingly. Just make it smooth. Now you can do it by hand, like this, or you can do a line tool and just go up like that to get that lower opacity, to get that smoother look, like that. Similar for the light side. Go all the way up, just like that. It's very simple, very easy. And we're going to do the same thing for the middle, so it blends. I'm going to pick up the color from all this area here, go up. And you can see I made a mistake. I colored on the base, which I shouldn't have, but that's fine. So now we're going to give it a slight blue tinge. So it blends with everything else. Adjust accordingly. Now we got our blade textured, but now what you want to do is select it all again. There's a lot of selecting and deselecting with me. And you want to make sure you have the edges selected because we're going to put our secondary bevel in, again, sort of reinforcing it, emphasizing. Unhide that, go to the third layer, so don't repeat what I did. We go back to big texture, texture big, just like that. Go 100, I would say. And then just go all the way down. Well, not 100. Let's go like 68, because you want it to blend in with the darkness over here. Meanwhile, it's lighter over here. It's slight, but some things are, you know, they're better being subtle. That only on the edges. Now, since you have the line tool, you can do this. Let's try going 100. Going back to the brush because it's more finer. If you go too deep into it like this, you can just Control Z, no problem. And now to really finish this off, what we want to do is we're going to put some shining on it because it's metal. It shines, right? So what we're going to do, how we're going to do that is when you're shading, general rule, always do the airbrush unless you want some texture with the shading. So what we're going to do, go white or maybe a little bit of bluish, light blue. Going to increase it, the opacity, the size, just like that. And then diagonally go down like that. See? See that effect? And then, so you have these sheens here, but you want to do a little bit of highlighting. So make your brush smaller and do the same thing in the middle of the sheen to get that extra shiny look to it. It may look crap, but let's see. When you're texturing, you can always just copy and paste what you've done into the model and see what it looks like. So I'm going to do Control E to merge the image, the layers. I'm going to Control C and Control Z to get the layers back to normal. I'm going to go to Craftstudio and we're going to see how it looks. Control V. Oh, you see what I did wrong? Uh, I only had the blade highlighted, so all the things that weren't highlighted in the square is white. So I'm going to delete that, go back, deselect, select here, which includes the little pink things for the transparency. Just like that. Now, Control E, Control C, Control Z. Go to Craftstudio again. Sort of drag it down. See how it's transparent now? Bloop. And that's how it looks. Let's go to the other side. And that's how it looks. Kind of sheen. We can... looks interesting. Hmm. Maybe we can get rid of it. Just the highlighted parts. Like the extra sheen parts. Now let's see what it looks like. Drag it down. That looks better. Yeah. Alright, so now we're going to do the pommel. Well, not the pommel, the cross guard. Don't worry about this one. We'll just sort of copy and paste this tip onto this one. It'll be okay. So we're going to select this. Now we don't want to select like this sort of indentation here because you want to make it 3D. This is the higher part, so we're going to add some highlights. Go to brush to change your brush. Come on, airbrush. Go to a rather bright color and put in your highlights because corners and edges always have nice highlights. Same thing here. So I'm going to do this, that, because these are corners too. To this. Highlighting. I am highlighting. And now you want to blend it in. Sort of like that. Just make sure it's not, completely white looking. Now, what we want to do, because this is, well, that's the last step. I was going to say add a little bit of shyness, but that's the last step because it's going to go over everything. So this is the starting kind of bit for the outside, but now we want to do the inside, just like that. Now the reason this is darker here on the edges is because the light is having trouble contacting it because it's right next to this very edge. So we're going to emphasize that. Sort of do this kind of thing. See that? That's a bit too much. There we go. Just like that. And we add a little bit of highlights here actually because the actual light's able to reach it because it's in the middle. So we're going to add a little bit of a design in here, I would say. I want to do a little bit indentation, even more like inscribing, So I'm going to do this brush here, which I'd like to do basic 6 details. I'm going to do rather small like that. And since this is 45 degrees, it's going to be tough to draw 45 degrees and keep it as that. So go down to rotations on the bottom right here, and you can see rotation 0 degrees. Sort of hold it and move it, and we're going to go negative 45. So right click, negative 45, and there you go. And now we can make indentations, inscriptions, sorry. I guess I can just do a weird little symbol, I guess. You know what I should do? This is what I'm going to do. Since this layer only has the effects, I can freely edit my actual thing. So when it comes to really in-depth details like this, we want it to be dark and contrasting against everything else. So having brushes, a weakness of Krita is that it can't, looks stupid. I'll be right back after I make this. But not for long. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. But not for long. I've been going place to place. So as you can see here, this side is the correct kind of orientation because I want it to be this orientation. But this is different. Now, you can solve this problem by doing as you did solving the blade. So go to Build, select the face, and click horizontal and re-angle it, just like that, see? Now it's the same. So what we're going to do, we're going to copy, paste into Krita, take it over. Well, deselect this first. It's a bit awkward to do at 45 degrees. Drag it over just like that. It's not perfect, but whatever. And we're going to Control E into the base layer. Select all the white, delete, deselect again, and we're going to unhide this. And now we are going to give it a whack up again. Hide it, pick up this color. I'm going to erase the parts on this layer to reveal the etching. So now I want to make it seem 3D. And so I'm going to do this by creating a dark side and a light side, just like the bevel. So this is going to be the dark. It's a bit too dark. That. Make it a bit bigger. Just gotta imagine where the light hits and where it doesn't. Now up close it looks very pixelated and crappy, but when you zoom out, that's when it looks excellent. Get the highlights out right here, put that in. Let's see what it looks like. That looks alright. Let's go back to normal. Boop. So now you want to give it some some contrast with the rest of the gold. Well, actually no, you're okay. We're gonna move on to the pommel. Oh, before we move on actually, we're gonna add the shine to the crossguard. So reselect it. The fuck? That's probably from the overlay when I pasted it in. You're going to go to the line tool, go to airbrush, go like that, go over it. In the lighter color, boom, and boom, you got your shines. And it looks glorious. Now we move on to the pommel. Make sure you're not selecting the gemstone. We're going to be doing the same process, the highlighting, the line tool. Same thing over here. Since this is dark because of the gemstone, we're going to sort of exaggerate that by, well, first we're going to sort of make it a little bit more normal colored, dull that darkness a bit, and then we're going to darken it back up, just so it's blending a lot better. And then for around it, there has to be a highlight again. Well, actually, no. It's alright. We're going to be highlighting the highlights to get that really bright look to it. You see that? Come on. Jesus. Sometimes it just doesn't want to paint correctly. See that? Am I lagging? Yeah, I'm lagging. Nope. What the fuck? I'm not lagging. What the fuck is going on? Do I have to reselect it? These are the problems I have to deal with. I'm on white! Increase the brush size? Yep, that's the problem. I guess they're just too small to actually render properly. So make sure your brush is at a proper size. Get some of that gold back in here. And we're going to add the sheens. The reason we're not doing it over the gemstone is because it doesn't really look that good, to be honest, over the gemstone. It makes it look too flat. So we're just going to do it over the gold. Just like that, see? Going to deselect. We're going to select the gemstone. Now, general rule about painting, digital painting, and painting in general, it's an art of subtlety. The very small things add the most. So pay attention to the details, where the light hits, all that. Right now I'm putting the edge of it where the most light hits, this side where most lights hits, this where it doesn't. And I'm going to, at one point right here, no light, very little light would hit. So I'm going to make it dark here because there's gold that's blocking the light. It's in a socket, right? So we're going to make that blend in. Going a bit darker, just blending it in like that. That again. And there you go, you have your gemstone. Painting is really easy once you figure out how lighting and color works. Color theory is, although simple, very important. So now we're going to move on to our handle. Now this is going to be really simple. I really don't like this handle, the shape of it. It looks super, simple, but it's okay for this little project here. I'm going to probably redo the handle. I'm just going to show you how I texture this. So I want a leather look. So I'm using the uh, the big texture. It gives that kind of like really rough look. And I'm going to simply go over it like that. And to do that, I'm going to go change the color a bit, go over it with that. So more saturated look, get like that look. More desaturated and light, like that. You're just mishmashing a whole shit ton of colors, just like that. And it works out. And you just keep doing it until you find what you want. Now we are going to do some shading, and we're going to go to the airbrush because that's what you do for shading. It's nice and smooth. And we're going to shade the edges of that because they're coming in contact with the pommel and crossguard. So you need to account for that. So the line, just like that. Boom. I'm going to do a little bit darker because I want it more noticeable. And for the very edges, nice dark highlight. And I guess we can do a little bit of a sheen. Go to light purple, go to the line tool, and let's see how that looks. Put your opacity down a bit. Oh, oh, oh. Interesting. It looks okay. Yeah, okay, I think it looks okay. Okay, and your texturing is done. So we're going to copy all of this, Control E to merge the layers, Control C, Control Z to undo it, and Control S to save the document. Swad texture. Now you want to continuously save. Make it a habit to continuously save. Go to Craftstudio, Control V, align the texture, and there you go. It is all textured. You have yourself a textured sword. That looks really good. Oh, this one, by the way. You have to do it for all shapes, apparently. Let's go to build. Left. There we go. You did it horizontally. Just like that. And boom. Just like that. Oh yeah, and this. There are a little bit of details that you need to do again. So paint, highlight, Control C, Control V, and put it back. Boom, there you go. And you're done. I'm going to redo this handle. It looks like crap. You should never do a blocky handle. You can do tapering effects. But yeah, this is it. So yeah, bye-bye.